Good
Sure,
morning,
sure.
or good
Okay.
evening,
Good
good
morning.
afternoon in good evening in Japan. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Yes.
So,
Oh.
today,
Well,
yesterday we did
yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go what you're gonna say. Yesterday we
the chanting, which was very nice.
it was.
And
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed the discussion of the text that
Yes,
we were chanting after we had
as did I.
chanted. That was very nice. Looking forward
Do
to the
you
next.
do you want to do that? Continue with that? We could do both today because actually I don't have to be anywhere, so we could go for a long session
Okay.
again today. It turns out I don't need to be anywhere, so we could go for another long. We could do the part of the they could do the evil. We could continue with the discussion of karmic evil, quote unquote, in Jodo Shinshu, and or we could do the next installment of Sambutsuge. But if you're going to do the discussion of karmic evil, I would like to that last part. If you could, if we're going to do that part, I'd like to repeat you to repeat the Shinran, what Shinran said, the last bit the quote that you gave from Shinran again, because I was toward the end of that latter part of the session, I was distracted by multiple things happening.
Oh, okay.
Both technologically and within the house and within myself, and I didn't give as full an answer to that as I would have liked to have. So I'd like to just discuss that last bit again.
Absolutely.
If we can. And also, I wanted to go on the record and correct something that I said in the last session about my Nenju. They're not, I totally got it confused. They're, let me just, I'm going to go on camera now since we seem to be in better position with the.
Seems to be smooth.
Video and audio. Yeah, so the Nenju that my wife made me, as well as my first Nenju that I got because it was like similar to the traditional sort of Jodo Shinshu style.
Like this shape, right?
Yeah, kind of with the two, the Buddha beads, the Sangha and the Dharma beads. Yeah, but and the just the small, but 27 beads, etc. But so I said that they were from the Bodhi tree. That wasn't. I got myself confused. They're called Bodhi seeds beads.
Oh yeah.
These are Bodhi seed beads, not and they really make them, really polish them on that one. But these are a little bit more sort of matte.
Right.
But and she got them because they're a traditional, and they're actually Ziziphus budensis is the plant that they're from, and the seeds are from the fruit of that plant, and it's native to Nepal. It's a plant native to a certain part of Nepal, and they are traditionally used in Buddhist, mostly Buddhist mala, Buddhist,
right,
Buddhist and Nenju. So I just wanted to correct that. And I think part of the reason is not only that there's there's a religious significance to the plant. I don't think, again, it's not the Banya tree, it's not the Bodhi tree plant. I don't think, but also because of the feel of them, because of the way there's some. There was some reason that they're used. Something about the texture for counting and meditation. Now, obviously, that's not important to our tradition because we don't count, we don't meditate when we're saying Nembutsu. But yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of correct that for the record. Yeah. So.
Those Bodhi seeds, because I think I have a wrist Ninju that is made with those as
like
well.
that, yes. Okay,
Yeah. And they are, I think that's the original seed that Shakyamuni told his followers to make the mala out of. So it's like
really? Okay.
Yeah, that's why it has
Okay,
that significance. It's an ancient,
Okay. I didn't know I knew it had religious Buddhist significance to the plants, but I didn't know what that background was. But that would explain that it's the Ziziphus budensis is the actual classification budensis. So anyway, that must have played a part in the naming of that, the religious significance there. So that's what the Buddha told was the first material that the Buddha told the monks to make their beads out of.
Yeah. Okay,
cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it was. He said to take the seeds and the nuts and string them on, a thread. So historically, I think that was what they were historically made of from ancient times. So
cool. Thank you. Good. I'm glad I raised that. That's a fairly significant fact there. That was what I'm willing to bet in my in my wife's research that she found that out and that's why she chose. She probably knew, found that out about the Buddha saying that and chose these because anyway, so they're one of my favorites that she made. They're quite lovely too.
I love the texture. I love how they have the little divots and little. It's got that kind of wabi-sabi look, And no two are the same either.
No, true. The teaching is for you alone.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's I'm sure the Buddha chose them on purpose because of that. There's probably that might have been part of the reason. And then there's no two are the same. And, what do I know? I don't know the mind of the Buddha, so I can only wildly speculate in my deluded mind. Anyway, but so wanted to say that, and also, can you repeat the last quote that you gave from Shinran yesterday?
Yeah. So the quotation was. Let me go ahead and bring it up here. From Kudinsho, and this is a collection of oral teachings that Kakunyo Shonin wrote down that he received from his father, Nyoshin Shonin, and who heard it from Shinran, directly from Shinran. So similar to Tanisho, it's not straight. It's not a writing that is straight from Shinran's own hand, but it is a reliable oral record of his teaching, right?
And actual reliable sources.
Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. This is actual reliable sources as opposed to fake reliable sources. Anyway, sorry, I could not resist current events, but anyway, sorry. Go
ahead. And so it's a somewhat lengthy passage. Maybe I should just read the entire passage. It does have a lot of good content. So, okay, I'll just read the whole chapter, if that's okay.
Yeah, please. Yes, please do.
Okay. According to our late teacher, Nyoshin Shonin, Shinran Shonin said, wait, let me start. I should say the title or the heading of this chapter is regarding how, if aware people committing great crimes of 5 transgressions and slandering the Dharma achieve birth, we should not commit small infractions. So that is the
just a little title, just
a small title.
Not too specific and directly related to everything that it's saying. Anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, and now this is the chapter. According to our late teacher, Nyoshin Shonin, Shinran Shonin said, people think while some infractions are small, we should think all sins fearful and decide in our hearts not to commit them. Likewise, if we set our minds on cultivating roots of good karma and follow this plan, we receive great benefit by accumulating good karma. Surely these are means for escaping the transmigration. These claims go against the true teaching and contradict what was heard by our teachers. The Buddha Dharma and various Buddha schools' teachings absolutely oppose committing bad deeds and crimes. However, a Bombu's bad karma results from past deep karmic conditions causing wicked deeds. Consequently, such crimes are nearly impossible to stop or prevent. Also, saying even a small infraction should not be committed depends on a Bombu's mind, and that a Bombu must stop or deter sin or infractions. However, Bombu is a body filled with sin from the ground up. There is no great or small sin. Of the three actions, doing, thinking, and saying, all are sin. And then it goes on. Is Shinshu based on the claim even small sins should be avoided, and even if a sinner repents, birth is rescinded because the act already was committed? We must carefully examine this claim. Does that mean deterrence? For Shakyamuni Buddha, deterrence is a form of enlightened means. For Shinshu, the bottom line is Amida's original vow. Furthermore, in considering sin, whether a small infraction or major crime, there indeed seems no way to stop or deter it. This should make us realize indeed, entrusting to Amida's original vow is fundamental. Moreover, if slandering the Dharma arises from a lack of heart and belief in the Buddha Dharma, then originally in such people no receptacle exists for the Buddha Dharma. But if they are repentant, they are born. Thus, the commentary explains, slanderers of the Dharma and the unreceptive, or ikantika, undergo conversion, resulting in birth for all. And that is from Zendo Shandao's Hoji-san. This is the rationale. So that is the passage in full.
Wow.
So
yeah, not too much, not too much packed into a few paragraphs.
Yeah. So
wow.
First of all, what are your thoughts?
Well, the first thought is it's saying basically, because we're filled, how does it put it? We're filled, all of our thoughts, a Bombu is a being filled with sin from top to bottom, filled with evil from top to bottom, basically. Yeah.
And we have to be careful. The meaning of sin, I would probably prefer not to use that word.
A different, different translation. Is that what's in the? That's what it's in this translation, isn't it? And they use sin.
Yeah, that's in this translation, but I think it's better to not use that one.
I have a similar feeling about using Western-based religious words in such translations. I have a similar. I prefer they not be used. But so, what would be a better word? So, filled with karmic evil.
Yeah, evil, karmic evil. Akugo is the Japanese. So aku means evil, and then go means karma, action. So our actions,
evil actions,
and in Honin Shonin, I think last time.
Sorry. So our karmic, our thoughts, words, and deeds, completely, comprehensively, from top to bottom, are filled with karmic evil. So
yes,
there's really, so if that's the case, this is a running theme through the discussions we've been having about this. But if that's the case, what are we going to accomplish by either trying to refrain? I shouldn't say what are we going to accomplish. I should say we're not going to gain any merit. I should say we're not going to accomplish anything toward enlightenment. That's what I'll say. We're not going to gain anything toward enlightenment or gaining merit or being able to transfer merit to other beings by either refraining from certain acts, certain thoughts, words, and deeds, or by performing certain thoughts, words, and deeds. We're not going to accomplish anything in the sense of the path toward enlightenment or accumulating merit or transferring merit to other beings or toward birth in Pure Land or toward birth in whatever Buddha land you want to go to or whatever it is. There's nothing that a Bombu really, that an ordinary foolish being, because of that, is going to accomplish in that sense by doing that. And that's comprehensive. That's our entire being, basically. He's saying this entire provisional existence is shot through with karmic evil. It's comprehensive, basically.
Yeah, and we have to be careful that we don't take evil in the sense of moral evil.
Right. Yeah. I'm not.
Evil,
yeah.
Right.
I'm not.
Like,
saying, I'm this horrible, being.
I'm not breaking the law right now, as far as I'm aware. And I'm not.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
At the moment.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
What you said is exactly right. The religious or spiritual aspect of evil in this case is our actions cannot, because they are based on ignorance and ignorance of ourselves and of others and of the true nature of reality, right? Which gives rise to greed or ignorance, which gives rise to aversion and attraction and all of the things that lead to us to commit, morally reprehensible actions. These acts that we may do, like Honen Shonin said, so this is actually from Honen as well, all of our acts, whether it's actions of speech, our mind, what we do, they all just serve to tie us to the wheel of transmigration.
Yeah.
All
what was the number again? It was like 80,000 40 billion, like 84,000 billion thoughts tie us to. Like it was beyond 84,000. It was this ridiculous number, of thoughts.
Yeah.
But tie it, yeah.
Well, actually, of course, the ninju, which this is a good tie-in to the discussion of the ninju. Yes. The ninju represents our bono, right?
Yeah.
Each of the beads is representing the kleshas. So
that's the 108, isn't it? The 108. That's originally.
Traditionally,
108. Yeah. And that was kind of like the number 84,000. It's not a specific. It's not supposed to be a specific number, but it gets the point across, kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So exactly as you say, our actions are karmically, evil in the sense that they do not truly bring benefit the way that the Buddha, the enlightened ones, actions of body, mind, and speech do, right? And sometimes, we can think we're doing something good and give ourselves a pat on the back, but it's funny how things don't always turn out just the way that we want them to turn out, in this world. And one more point in this particular passage that's also mirrored in Tani's show. So I think it's an indication that Shinran probably did actually say this, is the influence of past, of conditions and causes in our commission or lack thereof of evil actions. And in Tanisho, there's the famous passage where Shinran tells Yuinbo, well, if you think that you are just totally, in control, then why don't you go and, kill 100 people?
Yeah.
And Yuinbo says, well, I don't think I even have the ability to kill one person, let alone 100.
Exactly.
And the Shonin says, well, yes, you don't have those conditions and those causes that enable you to do something like that.
Yeah.
But you could have the best of intentions and yet end up killing hundreds of people. Yeah. And this really speaks to the way in which we are sort of our birth, the causes and conditions of our past, whether that's our childhood or past lives in a broader Buddha sense. These things are hugely a part of who we are and the kind of things that we do or don't do. And so there's really no reason to be proud of, if you were a good person, there's no reason to be proud of that. And if you've ended up in prison because, that's where your life led you, of course you have to take responsibility. I mean, in Buddhism, we always have to take responsibility for our karma, right? But in terms of Amita's vow and liberation and in turning of the mind, there's no difference. And the vow does not discriminate. And I want to share another passage. This is straight from
before we go on to that. So that's one of the things I want to emphasize too, is when I'm saying, that doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't accomplish anything in religious path sense.
Right.
But we still should try to, we still should try to do some, behave, okay.
Oh, absolutely.
This is the other point I wanted to kind of say, or thing I wanted to discuss about this is, the teaching of the Buddha, the teaching is like this holistic whole, so he's got,
right.
When they broke, he did his first sutra, and then took a step back to say, okay, we need to break this down and make it a bit more able for people to digest and build them up, toward. So, the Eightfold Path and, the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. Part of the Eightfold Path is all those things are meant to, it's all, so the moral part of that, the consciousness part of that, the right livelihood, all those different things, they're all, the whole idea of that is to support the mind stream, to support changing the mind stream, to support the mind, you know what I mean? The cultivation of the mind stream, which is a different focus than I think morality and other religions.
Yeah.
Or a different sort of motivating factor there. And by doing the mind stream, it helps you do that. So what by, the idea was sort of, and then by cultivating the mind stream, it makes those things, the Eightfold Path easier to do. Like it kind of all, it was like a loop, it's that perfect, Buddha teaching loop, the perfect, that it all supports itself. And obviously that's soul power path, that's the soul power, so for us, it's Amida, Buddha has done the Eightfold Path. for us, and
Right.
passes on the benefits and results of that to us. But so, bringing this back on that point is that, so because we're so shot through with evil, and it's not going to benefit, refraining from certain things or accomplishing certain acts isn't going to give us that benefit. It's kind of silly for us to try to do those things for that reason.
Right.
For the reason of change, for cultivating the mind stream, for that being the motivating factor. That's not our sort of motivating kind of. Is that right? That's okay. That's one piece of it.
I think so. Yeah.
And then, and also at the same time, I want to say that, like you said, we are very responsible for our karmic actions of the past, present, and we, and both individually and collectively, and that's a very important part of Buddhism in general, and Jodo Shinshu, I think, isn't it? That we at least, take responsibility for that as best we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as you say, but because it's all shot through with evil, it comes back to that, that discussion we were having at our one Dharma talk, and things we were discussing yesterday of it takes out the pride and the shame.
Yeah. And the focus is no longer on me, it's on Amida and his vow and working and in name, and so and that's why Tanisho says we don't have to constantly go through this ritual of repentance whenever we do something wrong. Once, when people have had that turning, of the heart, mind, and taken refuge in Amida and his vow and name, then that's it. There's no, and from there,
that's the ultimate repentance, isn't it? That's equal to the highest level of repentance that is possible for a human being to do. Isn't there a passage about that? Isn't there a passage about
I think I want to say it's Shantou.
There's the three there's three kind of stages of repentance. And is it Shantou then? I thought it was one of the that said that basically entrusting to Amida and the name and saying Nembutsu is equivalent to the highest level capable of for humans to repent, which is it's like crying and bleeding from your eyes, and you're sweating and bleeding from your pores.
It's like that really intense
with really intense shame and and repentance, and turnabout of heart, mind, like it's equivalent to that, which is pretty mind blowing to think. But anyway, but here's the other part of it is, so toward that end we can, and we need to just, as far as the religious aspect of all that, the cultivation aspect of all that, the from that standpoint, in terms of trying to perform, do good acts or refrain from evil acts, we leave that part of it to Amida. Amida has done all the good acts and performed all the, and refrained from all the evil acts and performed all the good acts to the nth degree for 5 kalpas, and passes that on to us. So we don't, but that, in that sense, we don't need to be concerned with that. We don't have to think about that at all. In fact, it says we didn't, when we were in part of the teaching we discussed yesterday. It doesn't say we get to a point where we not get to a point, but we, in the self-reflection, it's we give up knowingly reflecting on.
I want to get to that passage hopefully today if we have time.
Okay, delve that some more. So what we're eventually going to get to in this series is, okay, we're not doing it for those reasons, but
right,
how do we live not for those reasons, but just to be responsible, to live, as morally as best we can within this world, within the context of our lives, to live by the principles of humanity, all that stuff. That's what I want to, that's one of the things I think we'll eventually get to, but we have to, we have to show
we're getting there. We are getting there.
Show how that is there's a kind of, it's not connected to our good or our evil in any way, or accomplishing
and it's not,
or virtue.
It doesn't have right, and it doesn't have any bearing on our birth in the Pure Land, on the matter of the greatest importance, which is entrusting to Amida and realizing Shinjin, right? And then so that is the important. I do want to share a passage. This is another passage from Kudinsho. Okay. This is again Shinron Shonin's words. Since the actions of our body, the drift of our minds, the words of our mouths as the roots of the three poisons, greed, arrogance, and stupidity, and 10 crimes of taking life and so forth, all make this defiled existence difficult to rise above and leave behind. We are such foolish and spiritually inept Bombu who succeed only in filling life with bonno, or blind passions. Therefore, we should leave the one great matter of birth in the Pure Land to Amida Nyorai, and be unassuming and pretend to be none other than ourselves. According to the true teaching of the Pure Land, this is exactly the one for whom Amida made the original vow. So we should be unassuming and pretend to be none other than ourselves.
Unassuming and pretend to be. I love how that's put. Pretend to be none other than ourselves.
Yeah, because we can't not pretend to be, somebody other than who we are, right?
Yeah, no, don't be anything other than you. But in a sense, what we are is even what we are in a sense is not real. Even that's why I think that's a really I like that translation, because we actually we shouldn't pretend to be something other than what we are, but at the same time we're actually are still pretending just by virtue of being a human. This is not what we are. This is not real. This is a dream. This is part of it. This is like a dream,
Yeah, we don't we are ignorant of the true nature, right?
Yeah,
of ourselves and in reality and so on. So
so in a sense, even being ourselves is a kind of pretend for an ordinary being. So, but
and Honan said, related to this passage, Honan Shonin said, foolish beings are born in the pure, or no, he says, people are born in the Pure Land by becoming their foolish selves.
But people are born in the Pure Land by it distorted. Can you say that again?
By becoming their foolish self.
Their foolish selves. People are born in the Pure Land by becoming their foolish selves. That is such a. And who said that? Honan?
Honan Shonin.
Honan. That's a Honan flip. That's a Honan.
It's a Honan flip. The other one about all of our actions tying us to samsara was also Honan.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Mic drop. Honan mic drop and a Honan flip there. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't. It just leaves me speechless.
Yeah,
When you really hear it, when you really hear the teaching.
Yeah,
What more can you say or add to? What more can
well,
you?
I have something more. I have a little more too.
Excellent. Please do.
So here it comes. Okay. Yeah, this is Shinron talking about precepts. And he says peer precepts. Well, I should, the original passage is, this isn't showing us full screen, so it's hard for me to read. Here we go. Shinron is writing a commentary on the passage, not choosing the learned and those who uphold peer precepts. And
can you say that again? Say that again, please.
Not choosing the learned and those who uphold peer precepts. So those who follow the precepts.
Okay. Interesting.
And and he says, peer precepts indicates all the various Hinayana and Mahayana precepts. The 5 precepts, the 8 precepts, the 10 precepts of morality, all the Hinayana codes of precepts, the 3,000 regulations of deportment, the 60,000 regulatory practices, the diamond-like one-mind precepts of the Mahayana, the threefold peer precept, the 58 precepts expounded in the Brahmanet Sutra, and so on. All the precepts for monks and for lay people. To maintain these is to uphold, and to violate them is to break. And now here comes the twist. Okay. Even saintly people who observe these various Mahayana and Hinayana precepts can attain birth in the true fulfilled land only after they realize the true and real Shinjin of other power. Know that it is impossible to be born in the true fulfilled Pure Land by simply observing precepts, or by self-willed conviction, or by self-cultivated good. And
the end.
What is interesting, the end, yeah. What is interesting about this passage that I think is interesting is, after listing all these many precepts, different lists and kinds of precepts, he doesn't say, you would maybe think that the next logical would be, but even people who don't follow these precepts can still be saved if they repent and entrust to Amida. That would be like what you would expect. Right?
Yeah.
Instead, he says, even people who follow all of these precepts can only be born in the Pure Land by realizing true and real Shinjin. So it's a totally different.
Yeah, it's a flip. It's just a constant flip of what you would expect.
Yeah.
And I tend to think that way. I tend to think the latter about these things. Still, that's just where my mind goes.
Yeah. So Shinron is subverting our conventional ways of thought on these topics, right?
And it makes sense given the context of everything we've been talking about good and evil, and not knowing good and evil, and not being able to refrain from, doing nothing to refrain from or or perform certain things, acts, or anyway. I just it kind of blows my mind. I don't. It's so not conventional. It's so other than conventional thinking or motivations or reactions or responses.
But it is very much rooted in the father of the Pure Land tradition, Chantal's words, and I'll read those now because they follow on this very. So Chantal says, so we kind of looked at this idea that people in Chantal's day were saying things like, well, the Pure Land is really for the good people, the people who have followed precepts and purified themselves. But even, sinners can be saved there if they, if they entrust to the mercy of Amida, which in Chantal says, concerning the universal vow, it is as set forth in the larger sutra. The attainment of birth of all foolish beings, whether good or evil, is always, without exception, by being carried by the karmic power of Amida Buddha's great vow and accepting it as the decisive cause. So people, to those scholars who were saying, well, the Pure Land is really for us good people, and the evil people have got to be born in. If they are born in the Pure Land, they're born in like a provisional land. They're born in like a sort of a low grade, type of Pure Land. And Chantal says, no.
You're referring to the 9. It's referring to the 9 grades of lotuses that they would focus on, often focus on. Yeah,
right.
I mean, there's also the Borderlands, the Bombu Palace, those things, but
yeah. The argument that the scholars I think were making is that the fulfilled land, the fulfilled Pure Land, was too high for ordinary people like you and me. Like that required a level of meditation and attainment to be born into, and then the provisional, the Nirmanakaya Pure Lands, like your friendly neighborhood Pure Land kind of an idea, a sort of lower, provisional land, right? We could be born into, but not the fulfilled land. That was just too high, too much for Bombu to be born into. And Chantal criticized that and said, no, because the condition and the cause is being carried by the power of Amida's vow. That is the only way we can be born. Anyone can be born in the fulfilled land. And therefore, the lowest person as well as the wisest person equally can only be born in the fulfilled land by relying on the power of the vow and being carried by the power of the vow. So this is Chantal, the Chinese master and father of Pure Land Buddhism. And
who Honen considered his teacher.
Right.
Pretty much. That's wow. It's and it still comes down to 17th and 18th vow. That's the it all. What's coming in here. My Dharma brothers and I, in our sort of ongoing message chat, at one point we're discussing. There's a passage. I can't remember if it was from Honen or Renyo or one of the Dharma masters, which Dharma master was. There was. It talks about Shinjin arising from both Shakyamuni through Shakyamuni and Amida.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes the primal, when we refer to the primal vow, 17th and 18th makes sense to me. Because we're not getting, well, indirectly through Amida's light, through the working of Amida's vow for countless lifetimes, we're getting the message from Amida. But as far as a direct encounter where the teaching is explained, that comes from a Buddha, like a Nirmanakaya manifestation, if you will, of a Buddha, of whatever universe or world you're in, where that Buddha appears. Eventually, they go through the cycle of the teaching, and they give the teaching about Amida Buddha, and that's where the teaching comes from, and all those. I think the implication also is that all of those Buddhas, or at least either they are Amida Buddha, they're Nirmanakayas of Amida Buddha, or they're working for Amida Buddha. Because all Buddhas are working for Amida. So anyway, that's why when you first told me that, the emphasis is 17th and 18th go together. In one of our first actual
I remember
on-camera sessions,
we discussed that.
I was like, okay, this one I'm just going to have to let settle in through Amida, because I'm not fully, I can somehow see into it maybe a little bit, but I didn't get it. I did not get it until like I said, things had to settle in a bit, through Amida and then when I heard that passage, that made sense. This was just the other week. We were discussing that. The other month we were discussing that, and it's like, that's the 17th, and that's why it's 17th and 18th vow, and that's how it arises. That's how it arises. From
exactly.
both the Buddha that you learn you encounter the teaching from, in Nirmanakaya form, and from Amida. Anyway, I just thought that would fit here in this.
Yeah, it does. And it's like the parable of the white path, right? You have that Jason mentioned. You have Shakyamuni on this shore, and then Amida on the other. So Amida is calling us, and Shakyamuni is saying, go. And so
go there.
And so the 17th vow, Shakyamuni praising Amida's name, the vow that all Buddhas should praise and glorify Amida's name. Exactly, it's exactly that, right? And so through hearing the name and the 17th vow, we realize the Shinjin, the Shingyo, the mind of faith in the 18th vow. So it's one set, and
it is.
I like how Shinran refers to Amida as our mother of compassion, and Shakyamuni is our father. It's like there are like our parents. It's a
whole. It's a
and through their active means toward us, they bring us to the realization of Shinjin, of true, real Shinjin. So,
and isn't the White Path story or parable from is that from Shantou as well?
Yeah.
So
that's
coming
correct.
back to Shandao. But so coming back to the passage that we were talking about. Sorry.
Well, so having now laid all of that out on the table, because I think it's all pretty clear now, where these passages are pointing. I want to share. This is kind of the cherry on the sundae here. Okay. Oh, it's not that one. Okay. Oh, I think hold on. I saved it in a different spot. Let me see if I can find it here. And this is a passage that is, I read it and thought, wow, okay, here it is. And I think you will think wow as well. So I'm looking forward to reading it. Okay. This is from Notes on Essentials of Faith Alone.
Okay.
And so these are Shinran's actual words from his pen. Okay. To abandon the mind of self-power admonishes the various and diverse kinds of people, masters of Hinayana or Mahayana, ignorant beings, good or evil. To abandon the conviction that one is good, to cease relying on the self, to stop reflecting knowingly on one's evil heart, and further, to abandon the judging of people as good and bad.
Yeah.
When such shackled, foolish beings, the lowly who are hunters and peddlers, thus wholly entrust themselves to the name embodying great wisdom, the inconceivable vow of the Buddha of unhindered light, then while burdened as they are with blind passion, they all attain supreme nirvana. Shackled describes us who are bound by all our various blind passions. Blind passions refers to pains which torment the body and afflictions which distress the heart and mind. The hunter is one who slaughters many kinds of living things. This is the huntsman. The peddler is one who buys and sells things. This is the trader. They are called low. Such peddlers, hunters, and others are none other than we, who are like stones and tiles and pebbles.
Boom.
So, wow. That is the twist, the ultimate flip, I think, coming at the end of that passage.
This was one of the passages I wanted to go over because we were going through our sort of Dharma study. My Dharma brothers were studying this work, and when we got to this one, just like,
it was like,
hello.
Hard to believe it was there all the time, right?
I can't remember the name of it. Instead of mic drop, often I say, you know the thing that they use in Zen Buddhism, the hair. It's the hair. The hair. That hair staff.
Fly whisk.
What is it called?
Fly whisk.
Fly whisk. What's in Japanese?
Yeah.
What is it in Japanese? What's the?
I don't know what it's called in Japanese, but it's like a whisk, right?
Whisk. Yeah, I think that's it.
Whisking away the flies.
And I say it's a whisk drop instead of a mic.
There we go.
You can imagine especially like a Zen
a Zen monk,
a Zen priest going
whisk drop,
saying something, boom. Whisk drop. That's kind of what I think of. Wasn't either Shinran or Enyo gifted one of those by some?
Shinran met Dogen,
Shinran,
and was gifted. Dogen gave him a his fly whisk, and then Shinron gave Dogen his ninju. They exchanged.
Oh, they exchanged.
Yeah, and there's actually a statue of Shinron in a temple, I believe in Tokyo somewhere. I haven't been to it, but of him sitting with the whisk
in the sort of appropriate, the way that they would sit with it. So that's what I imagine. When I say Shinron mic drop, imagine him dropping the whisk, dropping his. Anyway, So when we discussed this one, it was just the one that came out really boldly was the judgment. And that's one thing we started out talking about this is, one of the things, that it's the judgmentalness, that we have of others. It's just so ridiculous. Judging anyone else, knowing what, that what we are as Bombu from, our every 84,000 billion thoughts, actions, words, deeds are shot through with everything we do is shot through with karmic evil. Where does that leave judging anyone else? And also teachers or people who go to point out, well, this person can't be born in or isn't can't achieve Shinjin. Like identifying someone else who or judging people for their morality in any way. It seems ridiculous.
It doesn't. There's no place for it as clearly in this facet, right? And
and that's one of the things we just that jumped off the page. A bunch of others, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, in note 2, he says to stop reflecting knowingly on our own evil heart.
Yes.
And further, to stop judging others as good or bad. So
not judging myself or others.
Basically, exactly.
We stop judging ourselves or others.
Amazing.
I
think this is everything we've discussed in the past couple of sessions, has kind of we looked at, in Tani's show, the different meanings of evil, and we found that, we're discussing spiritual or religious evil, not, legal or moral. And then I think we've covered a lot of ground in these past 2 sessions, and it's all sort of brought us to this realization, which you can imagine for a person who was, who has yet to encounter, right? This is a radical shift, the realization that I am the hunter, the peddler, the person bound by the kleshas, blind passions. And we're all in the same boat. There's no first-class citizens. There's no second-class citizens on the ship of Amita's vow. And so
we're all Tarantino
characters.
Spiritually speaking,
speaking,
we're all Tarantino. We're all grifters.
And anyway. this misguided focus on judgment and moral, measuring people by whatever yardstick of precepts, and this is all not Jodo Shinju.
No.
And it has nothing to do. I mean, now it's great that now you're actually getting to read Shinron's words, so now this clearly.
Yes.
But
exactly. It's just it's so radically different than both the conventional thinking, other other Buddhist teachings in a way, the provisional or the four, the teachings that made provision, teachings in a way, or any other sort of belief system or 95 non-Buddhist ways. And also things I've learned while exploring Jodo Shinshu, let's just say that. These things, at least if they were discussed, it didn't sink in, or I didn't see it. But in one way or the other, either it really wasn't brought out or discussed or pointed to, or I missed it until now.
Yeah.
Either and both are a possibility there.
I would say so.
Given the other contexts of where I was learning about exploring Jodo Shinshu. So yeah, it's I think that's a good way to kind of for this part of the series to we've kind of finally got to the conclusion we need to get to.
Exactly. Yeah, we've tied it up. These were the major points I wanted to discuss. I do think there is one other concept that's not related to this particular series. Well, it's everything is related, right? But the concept of what's called in Japanese, the term Shinran uses is tenzu, which means transformation. And that is the transformation of our karmic evil into the highest good. And this, of course, is a huge concept.
That's what it ended with. Yeah, turning rubble into gold. Turning
bits of rubble, turning rubble to gold. In fact, maybe should I read that passage just to kind of
read that? Yes, please do.
Because we can't really stop. We can't really stop with the realization that we are merely stones and tiles and pebbles, right? That's
exactly. Merely grifters and hustlers and Tarantino characters, spiritually speaking.
And Tarantino cast, ensemble cast of Tarantino characters.
Or a noir, or a noir film, cast.
Yeah.
Noir.
Exactly.
Anyway.
We've got the cast together now. This is the point where we are, and we've all realized we're all in this together. Right? Now, the next is I can make bits of rubble change into gold. This, and Shinran says, this is a metaphor. When we entrust ourselves to the Tathagata's primal vow, we, who are like bits of tile and pebbles, are turned into gold. Peddlers and hunters, who are like stones and tiles and pebbles, are grasped and never abandoned by the Tathagata's light. Know that this comes about solely through true Shinjin. We speak of the light that grasps because we are taken into the heart of the Buddha of unhindered light. Thus, Shinjin is said to be diamond light.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And that's kind of the hope. That's what it all kind of comes to.
Yeah.
Pretty much the whole teaching. That's pretty much.
Yeah, it's all right there. And
it kind of I just had a thought. It but no big deal. But Shinjin's no big deal.
There are
I hear that being said. When I hear that being said, it's no big deal, or it's no special state of consciousness. Yeah, it's not a samadhi, but it's a big deal.
It's not
and it's a big change.
It is.
It's a big change. It's a big turnabout of heart. It's a big. It may not be a special state of mind, and we are still Bombu, but.
But our orientation has changed. It's a major
total change of orientation. Total change of paradigm. Total change of motivation. Total change of everything in your life.
Right.
But, not a special state of mind in the sense of a samadhi, or that you have to maintain some special, equanimity, or, do you know what I mean? In that sense. But it is a pretty special, comprehensive, altering, life-changing thing.
Absolutely.
Process, life-changing process.
Yeah.
That occurs.
And as Shinran says here, it only comes about through the realization of true and real Shinjin. Yeah. So the importance of Shinjin. I personally would not use the term nothing special when we're describing Shinjin. Certainly none of our Dharma masters use that term. Exactly. And I don't know if it communicates.
No big deal.
What
really? No, it's nothing special? Really? Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. Well, there are certainly deficient interpretations, shall we say. But that's why it's always good to go straight back to Shinran's.
Exactly.
Because for all there's no ambiguity.
All the fullness and nuance and whisk drops and flips.
Yeah. Exactly.
He provides us.
Yeah.
As do all the Dharma masters, really. But
yeah. Well, with that, shall we wrap up this discussion of our
this
karmic
series.
state,
and then move on to
this series? And then I think in the next episode, or I think you really want to kind of turn to the practical aspects.
Yes,
now where that we
I want to get to, so now outside that context, kind of not outside the context, but within the context of that, and knowing all of that, how do we just live morally, civically, practically, responsibly, politically, socially, familially, in the world as Jodo Shinshu followers. That's the next
perfect
kind of phase
question. That's what we should discuss, I think.
Excellent.
In upcoming
episodes of this series. Yeah, definitely. So what do you still have time? Do you want to come back in for some more time and do some on some Sambuchi on the liturgical listening series, or do you
unfortunately I have to get up early tomorrow because I have training at my company that I have to. So let's bring it to I think this weekend we were able to squeeze in a lot, quite a few.
There was a lot that we covered.
But I do want to continue with the liturgical listening series. So my question is, I'm unfortunately, my schedule has changed to where I'm not available next Sunday, but I will be free on Saturday. So do you know if you will be available on Saturday, or?
Probably, but I just need to check that. I need to check the family diary, as I say.
Let me know. And then if so, let's go ahead and schedule it so that we do the discussion of how to live as Shinshu followers, and then follow it up with chanting Sambutsuge and discussing. And we could do it. We could do it either way. We could start with chanting Sambutsuge and then discuss, and then move on to.
But we
do it that way too?
I mean, are we going to spend? So do you want like an hour for each, or 45 minutes for each, or?
Yeah, let's aim at 45 minutes, maybe.
45 minutes.
So hour and a half total.
Yeah, total.
And just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. All right.
If that sounds good.
Yeah, I will check that out. I didn't have a chance to yet.
All right.
Kind of coordinate with the family on that.
Great discussion today. I really
fantastic.
think we
we got to
get to some real good topics.
And Honan, Shen Dao, Honan, and Shinran brought us home.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Boom.
So, all right. Thanks very much. And until next time.
You're welcome. My pleasure. All right.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu. Take care.
Take care. All the best.